President Jacob Zuma says Africa has abundant energy resources that need to be positively harnessed. He's been speaking at the launch of the Hazelmere solar power plant at Ndwedwe, north of Durban. It is a collaboration between manufacturer Soitec, the eThekwini municipality and the Environmental Affairs Department. It is the first commercial solar power plant in the country. The SABC's Minoshni Pillay reports.
President Jacob Zuma says if nothing is done, climate change will render uninhabitable wastelands. Addressing the launch of South Africa's first large-scale clean energy offering, President Zuma says climate change responses cannot be separated from the country's developmental agenda. The solar power plant that has now been switched on will power the International Convention Center, the ICC, which is the main venue of the negotiations at COP17. Thereby offsetting some of the carbon footprint produced by the conference. Minoshni Pillay, SABC News, Ndwedwe.
The National Prosecuting Authority says it has been informed that the Registrar of the South Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg will tomorrow grant former National Police Commissioner Jackie Selebi permission to delay his handover to the Johannesburg prison authorities. Selebi's lawyers have approached the NPA to request more time before handing over Selebi to start his 15-year jail term. The 48 hours Selebi had been given after the verdict expired at 10 o'clock this morning. Selebi collapsed at his house on Friday after learning that the Supreme Court of Appeals in Bloemfontein had dismissed his corruption conviction appeal. He's been admitted to the Jacaranda Hospital in Pretoria. NPA spokesperson Tunzi Maga elaborates.
They did approach our prosecutors indicating that he may not be able to report to correctional services today after the expiry of the 48 hours. But our prosecutors indicated to them that they should approach the registrar of the South Gauteng High Court, which is where he was sentenced, if they need to make alternative arrangements, and also approach the Department of Correctional Services, because as the prosecutors, we are not involved in that process.
An analyst says allegations of corruption and tender rigging leveled against Castle Matale could work against him at the forthcoming ANC's Limpopo conference. The conference is scheduled to take place in 2 weeks' time at the University of Limpopo's Turfloop campus. Contesting for the position of ANC chairperson in the province is Dr. Joe Pahla. Political analyst Elvis Masucha explains.
Another aspect that we need to understand is the aspect of moral credibility and image between the two leaders. Because here we have got Castle Matale, whose image and integrity is compromised and paralyzed by serious allegations of corruption, tender rigging and financial irregularities within the Limpopo provincial government. While on the other side, we have got this Dr. Joe Pahla, whose image and morality seem to be clean. There are no question marks over his image.
National Freedom Party President Zanele Magwaza Msibi says her party wants to take control of KwaZulu-Natal in 2014. She's been speaking to reporters during the third day of the party's inaugural elective conference in Pietermaritzburg. Since its formation, the party has established 800 branches in various provinces. After the May local polls, the party took control of 2 municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal and is in a coalition with the ANC in 19 hung municipalities. Magwaza Msibi says after their inaugural conference, the newly elected leadership will begin to consolidate party structures.
We want to ensure that in each and every ward in South Africa, there is a branch of the NFP, so that the NFP will all over, because we want to ensure, come 2014 election, we want to ensure that we have members of legislatures, we have members of parliament. We want to ensure that we take over KwaZulu-Natal. That is a possibility. That can happen. That is the mammoth task that is before us as leadership of the NFP.
The Young Communist League has threatened to take its protest to Western Cape Premier Helen Zilla's offices over her HIV testing campaign. Zilla raised the ire of the League after encouraging people to test for HIV using a cash incentive. People were promised 50,000 rand if their names were picked in the draw. Their names were entered from provincial HIV/AIDS testing points. The league says the money could have been better used in awareness campaigns which focus on the importance of knowing one's status. The league spokesperson Kaya Klaba.
What mostly discussed, it should be a desire in them or a drive to know their statuses. It should not be turned into some lottery where you test and then you can then be given monetary value. As the Young Communist League, should the Premier not desist from doing this, we will consolidate all our forces and our sister organization to march to the offices of the Premier. We are willing to show our anger to the Premier to say this must stop.
And finally, on to international news. 3 people have been killed and several others arrested after youth and police clashed at an anti-government rally in Angola's capital, Luanda. The rally is the 6th organized this year by Angola's burgeoning youth movement. They have called for the resignation of President José Eduardo dos Santos, who has never before faced such dissent in his 32-year-long rule. Dos Santos last month signaled that he would lead the party in a re-election bid next year, quashing media speculation that he planned to step down before the ballot.